Hi Stampers, Judy Anderson here from judystamps.com bringing you another tip. Today's tip is on ribbon tying. This is my favorite technique. Show you a couple samples. You'll notice when you're looking at these, the ribbons are different textures and different widths. This technique works good with any ribbon pretty much. The only thing you will have to pay attention to is the width of your ribbon. This one is an 1/8 inch, this one is about 3/4 of an inch. So that's the one important thing that you do have to pay attention. For this technique, you're going to need a paper punch, a pencil, your ribbon, and your cardstock that you're going to be wrapping your ribbon around. Now the most important thing is, once again, the width of your ribbon. My ribbon is about 1 1/8 inches. It's our cherry cobbler linen thread out of our holiday catalog. So I'm going to be using the 1/4 inch punch because it's a little bit thicker ribbon. On our 1/8 inch ribbon, I recommend using our 1/8 inch handheld punch. In fact, that's the punch I use a majority of the time. But I don't want this ribbon to fray. So my piece of cardstock is actually going to be a piece of vellum. And this vellum measures 4 inches across, and that's what I'm going to be wrapping my ribbon around. Now you're wondering, okay, how do I figure out the length of my ribbon, Judy? Well, how you figure it out is the width of your paper times 3. So is the minimum that you want to cut your ribbon. Now, sometimes it'll be a little bit long, but that's okay. I'd rather have a little bit too much ribbon than not enough. So for this one I need at least 12 inches, and because the ribbon is a little bit wider, I'm going to add an inch. So I'm going to do 13 inches. So I'm going to measure that here and take my ribbon cutting scissors, whoops, oh, and just cut that ribbon. This is really great ribbon. I love it. It's a sheer ribbon. Now that rule of thumb is for any piece of cardstock that's 3 inches or more. If you get below 3 inches, you want to do 4 times the width. Just because if you have a 2-inch piece and you only do it 6 inches, it doesn't give you much ribbon to play with in tying the bow, and I just find that it's easier for my customers to use that general rule. Now I want to figure out where I want my ribbon to be on my card. So I'm going to just lay my pieces out a little bit. Now another thing that you need to pay attention to when you're selecting where you want your ribbon tie to be, or your bow, is the length of your handheld punch only goes in about 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 about. So you don't want to do it in the middle of your card. If you do it in the middle of your card, it's got to be lower or higher, so you're within that distance from whatever edge you're going in from to punch. So I'm going to mark this. I want it about in this area right here. Oops, the pencil's not working. Let me mark that again. So we're going to mark it. I don't want it all the way up there. So just about there. So I'm going to take my punch and push it in as far as it goes. And boy, I'm just about dead on with that measurement. Okay, so you have your hole. You're now going to take your ribbon. You're going to put the 2 ends together. Now with a wide ribbon like this, and because it frays, I will fold it to a point like that, and then I'll roll it one more time. This just makes it a little bit easier to pull through the hole that you punched. Now on vellum it doesn't matter which side I'd go, but it would matter on which side my ribbon tie would be. So I want to make sure that I go from the back of my cardstock to the front with my ribbon. And I'm going to pull it up through that very carefully. Don't forget your paper will rip. It's only paper. And I pull it up about 1 inch, 1.5 inches up. Then I'm going to flip it over, straighten my ribbon out so it's flat. I'm going to take my fingers, put it in the loop, and wrap it around the paper. Now you'll see that it's flipped a little bit. You want to make sure that it's flat on this side, and you're just going to turn your ribbon so it ends up being flat. Okay, now very carefully you're going to pull your paper, flip your paper over. You're going to have your, I call these little legs. They're going to do the splits. Be very careful, don't pull it tight because you will rip your cardstock. Now it's still loose, so what you want to do is you just kind of want to work this by pulling it up here and tightening it, and then go this way and see how tight it is. Well, could be a little bit tighter. So I am going to just pull this edge here. I put a little bit of ribbon there, pull the tail a little bit or the leg, and that's where I want it to be. Then I always want my tails to go down at the bottom. So I am going to loop this over, do it like a cross, loop the top over the bottom, and all you're going to do is tie one single knot and just pull it tight. And voila! It's tied. That's it. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to slip up and down. There's no tape. There's no glue. There's no worrying if your ribbon's going to fall off your project. So that's today's tip.